Hello, everyone. I'm Leonard French, your favorite copyright attorney, and we're here today to talk about the Stardock v. Riche and Ford case. Several of you have suggested this story, including Smeevan, Sean McNamara, Pointy Haired Jedi, and Gonzo. Anyway, thank you for all your help, and sorry if I missed anyone. As you may or may not know, Stardock is headed by Brad Wardell and is the video game publisher behind the new Star Control Origins video game, which went into beta November 2017. It's the fourth Star Control game in the Star Control franchise. Paul Riche III and Fred Ford are the original developers of Star Control and Star Control 2. Normally, this is where I would start going through a legal complaint, but after reading both the complaint and the countersuit, it's clear that this story is way too complicated for a read-through. In order to understand this, we have to go all the way back to 1988, when Riche and Ford teamed up to develop Star Control and secured Accolade as their publisher. The basic idea was that Riche and Ford would write the game and Accolade would publish, distribute, and sell the game. Under the terms of the contract, Riche and Ford would retain their copyright to the plot, characters, creative elements of the game, and code, while Accolade would retain the rights to any trademark they developed in order to market the game. Let's look at the terms of this agreement. Effective October 7, 1988, Accolade and Riche entered into a license agreement whereby Riche, the developer, agreed to develop Star Control and two other computer games and to grant Accolade, the publisher, an exclusive license to publish such games for the term of the agreement, in exchange for Accolade paying certain royalties and advances to Riche. The sales term of the 1988 license agreement would run as long as the licensed work generated royalties of at least $1,000 per year. Paragraph 7.1 of the 88 agreement provided that if Accolade became bankrupt, then unless the bankruptcy was terminated within 90 days, all rights to the work and derivative work would revert back to Riche. Paragraph 7.2 provided that all licenses granted under the agreement would automatically be deemed assigned to Riche concurrently with the termination of the agreement, but that termination of the agreement would not affect Accolade's obligation to pay royalties for sale of the work or derivative works. Paragraph 10.2 provides that in the event of the termination of the agreement, each party would return all property, including plans, drawings, specifications, papers, computer hardware, or related equipment, documents, manuals, computer programs, other records, including all copies thereof, belonging to the other party. Paragraph 11.4 says that Riche shall be the owner of the copyright and all other proprietary rights in the work, the three computer software programs, and all derivative works by Riche, that Accolade shall be the owner of the copyright and all other property rights in all derivative works by Accolade, subject to Riche's copyright in the works and all derivative works by Riche, and the provisions of paragraph 7. Paragraphs 11.4 and 11.5 of the agreement also provide that Accolade shall be the owner of the title, packaging, concept, and packaging design for the work and derivative works, and that any trademarks adopted and used by Accolade in the marketing of the work, derivative works, are the sole property of Accolade. Paragraph 12.1 of the 88 agreement provides that it could not be assigned by Accolade without Riche's consent, and that it was binding on any permitted successors and assigns. This means that Riche and Ford negotiated to keep their copyrights no matter what, and Accolade had to license Riche and Ford's intellectual property for every Star Control game. That license also depended on Riche getting at least $1,000 per year in royalties, or else the license would expire and need to be renegotiated. This is a place where the trademarks and the copyrights in the same product have become separated, and one company might own the rights to the trademark separately from the company or person that owns the copyrights to the previous products sold under that trademark. It's a weird separation of trademark law and copyright law in this one context. So just bear with us and try to keep up. Riche and Ford went on to develop Star Control in 1990 and Star Control 2, the Urquan Masters, in 92. Reich and Ford sound pretty proud of the success of Star Control 2, where they state that Star Control and Star Control 2 were both successful in terms of sales and received substantial critical acclaim around the time of their release and in subsequent years. In '96, Computer Gaming World ranked Star Control 2 as the 29th best game of all time, and Star Control as the 127th best game of all time. More recently, in 2005, IGN named Star Control 2 the 17th best game of all time. Reviewers praised the graphics, dialogue, and quality of the gameplay, among other things. A few years ago, Star Control 2 emerged as the consistent favorite in a crowdsourced list of the best PC games of all time. After Star Control 2, the license was renegotiated, so that Star Control 3 would be developed by Legend Entertainment using Reich and Ford's copyrighted characters and designs, but without their direct input. This means Star Control 3 contains Reich and Ford's intellectual property, but was not developed by them. In 1998, Accolade renegotiated the license to use Reich and Ford's intellectual property for making future Star Control games with a clause that would end the license in 3 years if no future game was made. Then, starting in '99, a series of corporate acquisitions and mergers meant that Accolade became Awfulgram, then Atari. It's around 2001 that Reich and Ford say their old license agreement with Accolade/Awfulgram expired since they didn't receive any royalties and there was no Star Control 4. Without royalties, they assumed Awfulgram wasn't selling any games or using the Star Control mark. Despite not using the mark, Awfulgram/Atari continued to renew the trademark with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office in 2002 and 2007. Now, trademarks are usually meant for use in commerce, and they are only valid while they are being used in commerce, actively used in commerce. There's very, very few exceptions as to when you'd be able to hold a trademark while not actually using it, and that's usually when you filed for a provisional trademark, sort of a prior like a hold on an upcoming trademark that you're developing, and you have to pay for that and do that every couple years. So I don't even know right off the top of my head what the consequences are of Atari/Accolade/Awfulgram not using or selling the game for a few years. That could invalidate the trademark altogether, but then again, did anybody go to the USPTO and invalidate it? I don't know. Someone who's more of a trademark litigator than I would have to explain all that. But Reich and Ford still wanted to revisit and further develop the Star Control universe. Even though they weren't able to get the trademark from Accolade Awfulgram, they decided to release a free and open source version of Star Control 2 under the name The Urquan Masters in 2002. They argued they could do this because it's their art, characters, and code. The only thing they didn't own was the Star Control part of the name, which they simply omitted to avoid trademark infringement. According to Reich and Ford, Accolade knew they were doing this and didn't try to stop them. In 2006, Ford and Reich tried to negotiate with Atari to release Star Control 1 and 2 again through an online video game service, but they couldn't agree on the terms. 5 years later, Reich and Ford found out that Star Control 1 and 2 were being sold on GOG. They reached out to GOG to find out what was going on because no one had renegotiated a license with them, and they still owned the copyright. After consulting with Atari's lawyers, Atari affirmed that Reich and Ford still held the copyright and Atari couldn't sell the Star Control games without a license agreement. This is how Reich and Ford described the agreement they entered into with GOG. On January 2, 2012, with an effective date of April 1, 2011, GOG and Reich and Ford entered into the Digital Distribution Agreement to provide GOG with a non-exclusive license to distribute the classic Star Control games in exchange for royalties of 25% of net revenue. The agreement specifically noted that GOG would obtain the rights for the product's names and related trademarks from the respectful rights holder. This all tells us that Reich and Ford remained invested in their art, defending their copyrights, and were still very interested in keeping Star Control alive. Yet we still haven't mentioned Stardock. How do they fit into all of this? Isn't this a lawsuit between Stardock and Reich and Ford? Their part in all of this starts in 2013 when Atari declares bankruptcy and auctions off the Star Control trademark to Stardock, owned by Brad Wardell. Let's see what Stardock says they purchased from Atari. Pursuant to the 1988 agreement, Accolade held the exclusive license to, among other things, market, distribute, and sell the classic Star Control games in exchange for the payment of certain royalties to Riche. Separate from the license grant as defined in the 88 agreement, the 88 agreement also provided to Accolade the sole and exclusive right to create computer software programs based on or derived from any characters, themes, settings, or plot lines from the classic Star Control games, and any translation, port, or adaptation of the classic Star Control games in exchange for the payment of certain royalties to Riche. Also, pursuant to the agreement, Accolade was the owner of the title, packaging concept, and packaging design in and to the classic Star Control games, and any trademarks and other intellectual property rights adopted and used by Accolade in the marketing thereof, including but not limited to the Star Control mark. In addition, pursuant to the agreement, Accolade was the owner of any and all rights in and to the Star Control copyrights, as Accolade developed the game without the assistance of Riche and Ford. In or around 99, Atari acquired Accolade, thereby assuming all rights and obligations under the 88 agreement, including all rights to the Accolade Star Control IP, including but not limited to the Star Control mark and the Star Control copyrights, and publishing rights to the classic Star Control games. In 2013, the 88 agreement, along with certain other assets, including the Star Control mark, certain copyrights in and to the classic Star Control games, including but not limited to the Star Control copyrights, as well as publishing rights to the classic Star Control games, were assigned to Stardock via an asset purchase agreement and associated intellectual property assignment between Stardock and Atari, dated July 18, 2013. So, Stardock believes it bought the Star Control trademark, certain Star Control copyrights, and the right to publish and sell the classic Star Control games. The problem is, Riche and Ford say the only thing Atari would have owned would be the Star Control trademark and any portions of Star Control 3 that aren't based on the first two games. The Star Control trademark would give them the right to sell a game named Star Control, but it doesn't cover the copyrights on the characters, places, designs, or computer code associated with the first two Star Control games. Here is where the separation of trademark and copyright gets tricky. In order to sell the first two games, you need both the copyright to the content and the right to call it Star Control. According to Riche and Ford, the 88 license agreements expired, so Stardock only had the rights to the name. When you purchase intellectual property, you generally can only transfer when you purchase property in general, you can only really transfer what you own. And there's various legal remedies to when you don't know how much you own, or if you want to make sure you transfer everything, even if you own less than everything. So it sounds like Riche and Ford think that there were limits on what could be transferred, and maybe Stardock doesn't understand exactly what was transferred. After acquiring the trademark for Star Control, Stardock began to work on Star Control Origins. Stardock contacted Riche and Ford a number of times regarding development of Star Control Origins. On July 23, 2013, in an email to Stardock, Riche and Ford acknowledged Stardock owns the Star Control trademark. On or about September 16, 2013, Riche and Ford refused Stardock's offer to collaborate in the development of the new game. In response, in October of 2013, Stardock offered to transfer to Riche and Ford Stardock's newly acquired rights to the Atari Star Control assets and classic Star Control games, including, among other things, all publishing rights for all the classic Star Control games, all code and assets for Star Control 3, and the rights to the Star Control mark, for the price Stardock paid to acquire the rights, to which Riche and Ford declined. Stardock further advised Riche and Ford that it was preparing to substantially invest in the development of Stardock's new Star Control game, and offered Riche and Ford another opportunity to purchase the Atari Star Control assets. On or about October 29th, Riche and Ford again refused Stardock's offer to purchase the Atari Star Control assets at the same cost Stardock paid to acquire the rights from Atari and to otherwise be involved in the development of Stardock's new Star Control game. Throughout 2014 and the beginning of 2015, Stardock wrote to Riche and Ford with updates on the creation of Stardock's new Star Control game, and then on or about September 24th in 2015, Stardock reached back out to Riche and Ford to provide further updates on the progress of Stardock's new Star Control game, advising that the game was in full production. October 18th, 2016, Stardock publicly announced it expected to release its new game on its website. On or about July 28th, 2017, Stardock again contacted Riche and Ford, providing a status report on the release of Stardock's new game, updates with respect to certain features of the game, and in light of the 25th anniversary of Star Control 2, again requested to interview Riche and Ford about their involvement with Star Control 2. On or about August 1st, 2017, Riche and Ford replied to Stardock's request for the interview by declining the opportunity. Throughout its communications with Riche and Ford regarding the release of Stardock's new Star Control game, beginning in 2013, Stardock continuously made its intentions clear that it preferred to collaborate with Riche and Ford on the project and that Stardock's new Star Control game would be a successor to the classic Star Control games under the Star Control mark. It seems like Stardock was open to communicating and negotiating with Riche and Ford throughout this process. However, Riche and Ford were developing their own ideas for expanding the Star Control universe. In October 2017, a month before Star Control Origins went into beta, Riche and Ford announced they were developing their own sequel to Star Control 2, titled Ghosts of the Precursors. By Riche and Ford's logic, they owned all the copyrights to the names, settings, and ships in the original Star Control games and could create the third installment of the game that they really wanted to make. Of course, without the Star Control trademark, they couldn't call the game Star Control. Instead, they said the game was from the creators of Star Control 1 and 2. They're arguing that by stating their factual relationship to the two games, it would be a fair use of the Star Control trademark. So there is such a thing as trademark fair use, just like there's copyright fair use, but trademark fair use is a little bit different. Trademark fair use is mostly one of two kinds, either a descriptive fair use, which permits a use of another's trademark to describe a user's product or services, or a nominative fair use, which allows the trademark to refer to another trademark. In this case, the reference to Riche and Ford being the creators of Star Control 2 would likely be a nominative fair use, as they're only using Star Control to identify the product that they created, and they're doing nothing to suggest that they are the owners of Star Control trademarks now. But Stardock claims that Riche and Ford infringed on their trademark when they used the name Star Control in order to market the game, specifically by calling Ghosts of the Precursors a direct sequel to Star Control 2, utilizing the Star Control hashtag on Twitter, and retweeting gaming articles that featured packaging art for Star Control 2. Stardock points out that some media have even mistakenly called the game Star Control Ghosts of the Precursors. Oddly, though, Stardock then alleges that Riche and Ford shouldn't even call themselves the creators of Star Control 1 and 2. Quote, however, Riche and Ford's advertising that they are the creators of Star Control is false, as Riche and Ford know it was Accolade, not them, that created Star Control 1 and 2. Upon information and belief, any authorship that Riche and Ford may have contributed to the classic Star Control games was limited, and it was instead a team of many other authors, including numerous artists, animators, musicians, designers, and writers, among others, that collaborated together to develop creatives used in Star Control 1 and 2. Upon information and belief, and contrary to the common public understanding of what has been portrayed, Riche and Ford may not have created any of the artwork, animation, or characters incorporated in the games, or otherwise substantially contributed to the authorship of Star Control 1 and 2. Without knowing more, I'm really not entirely sure what they're going at there. That almost seems like a salacious or frivolous paragraph that couldn't possibly be true in light of what we've seen up till now. And so I would expect Riche and Ford and their attorney to respond to that paragraph appropriately. Now, it's in October of 2017 that Stardock also learns that Riche and Ford are being given royalties from Star Control 1 and 2 being sold on GOG. Additionally, on or about October 22nd, Stardock became aware that Riche and Ford were, without Stardock's permission, marketing, advertising, promotion, selling, offering for sale, distributing, supplying, and or causing the sale of the classic Star Control games on GOG pursuant to an agreement with GOG in connection with the Star Control mark and in violation of the Star Control copyrights. Accordingly, on or about November 9, 2017, Stardock requested that Riche and Ford immediately cease all sales of the classic Star Control games on GOG, thereby putting Riche and Ford on notice of their infringement of the Star Control mark and Star Control copyrights. Riche and Ford have defended themselves by referring back to their agreement with GOG that says it's GOG's responsibilities to secure the trademark license. Next, Stardock claims that Riche and Ford have violated the trademark by indicating they would be making Star Control 2 available for free. However, this was not something new. As we know, they had been doing this since 2002, calling the game the Urquan Masters. As you can see, the intellectual property in the Star Control universe has a long history. Riche and Ford say they own the copyrights to all of Star Control 1 and 2 and any parts of Star Control 3 that rely on the universe established in the first two games. Stardock claims they own the trademarks to Star Control and argue that Riche and Ford are unfairly profiting off of Star Control's marks by referencing it in their advertisements for a rival game and should not be profiting off the original games without Stardock's permission. But this story is just the beginning. Riche and Ford have a few allegations against Stardock of their own, which we will share in our next video, dropping tomorrow, as we continue to unravel this complex story of copyright, trademark, and rival video game developers. Thank you to the people who made this video possible, including Tactical Bra, who researched and wrote this entire story, as well as our sponsors on patreon.com/ljfrench. Our $50 plus supporters for the month of March are DJ Gilcrease, John Steele, Gavin Barnard, The Godslain, Evie, Andy, Kyle Mudrock, John H. Anderson, Vera Mentane, and Sean McNamara. There are also over 200 $5 plus supporters scrolling on the screen as well as on the LED panel behind me. Your support means that we can bring you more and more detailed videos with higher production quality and timely releases. It also means that we aren't reliant on YouTube's unpredictable ad revenue and community guidelines enforcement. Without you, much of this would not be possible. Thank you for all of your support. Tune in tomorrow for our next episode on the Star Control situation. I am, of course, your favorite copyright attorney, Leonard French. Thank you for helping us bring educational stories to the lawful masses. See you tomorrow.